AI is everywhere. So much speculation abounds about how AI will impact the global economy. Today's guest, Kyle Reidhead, can help us understand how AI agents specifically could impact our finances. Kyle, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Look, I'm friends with your publicist. He brings me the best guests. This is a very high level topic. Maybe not for you, because I hear that you are a genius. But for me, I'm definitely like trying to figure all this stuff out. It's really, really interesting. Let's start right at the beginning. Are AI agents going to create a new economy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they already are. I think today there are millions of agents that exist across the internet, and we're just sort of unlocking what's possible for them. Right now, they do kind of mundane tasks like admin work, or they do some research. They move numbers around, things like that. But soon, and we're starting to unlock payments, the ability to take actions within our phones, so they can buy things for you. They can message people. They can schedule tasks in your calendar. They're going to be able to do lots of things. And some of them, or most of them, are going to work autonomously. We're all going to have, I think, hundreds or whatever amount of agents, I don't even know, all hidden behind the scenes. So we won't really need to understand the technical components of it. But I think we're going to have agents do basically everything for us across the internet. So I think absolutely they're going to have their own economy. And it's going to be something that is, the way I would explain it the most is if you think about what the internet did to the physical economy, right? When we created this digital economy, we're now moving into the next version of that, which is an agentic economy, which is
Right.
artificial intelligence doing their own things.
Look, you're the perfect guest for the perfect topic, which I knew you would be. For anyone having difficulty following at home, the way I explain AI agents to people, they're essentially robot employees, right? Just make it very simple, okay? It's not a perfect definition, but it's enough for someone to go, okay, these are like AIs that are going to do all this stuff for us, right? So the implications of this are very profound, right? So if we have all these robot employees, and I don't know how you're, maybe we're going to have hundreds of them. This is unprecedented for society, right? We're going to have all these robots doing stuff for us economically, and as we trust them more, could really, really change almost, I think, entirely the way society functions. Do you think that's accurate? And how could that work?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think, if you think about the normal way that we go through our lives, especially if you're someone that works in a typical corporation or maybe as an entrepreneur, you have people that you delegate tasks to, right? You typically, if you're an entrepreneur, or you're a founder of a company, you hire people because, you can't do all the things that need to get done in your day. And so you hire someone to schedule for you. You hire someone to, I don't know, write content for you, right? You hire someone to do research for you. You hire someone to do so many different things. And what's happening now is we have infinite amounts of artificial intelligence, right? And so instead of me needing to hire a human to get them to use their intelligence to do these tasks for us, I can now just use artificial intelligence to do the same thing. So over the last 3 or 4 years, we've used intelligence mainly in just, the ability to type to it, like on ChatGPT, or talk to it if you happen to have a Tesla and you talk to Grok in your car, or Siri is sort of a version of this. So that's not really a smart intelligence today, but it'll hopefully get there. But the next version of this, instead of just typing and asking questions, it's when you tell it to do something, it goes out and does it, and it comes back an hour or 24 hours later, and it's actually done the work for you. And so that task, they're not just helping you understand it, they're actually completing it on your behalf. And so even me today, I have tens of agents that I already use to do a lot of the things in my own business. And most of my employees have multiple agents that they do to do the tasks that they do as well. And so to get the output that I currently have in my companies, I would typically need to hire 2, 3 times the amount of people. Today, that's not the case because each of my people that work in my company are almost like superhumans because they have their own 5, 10, 20
Right.
agents working and doing things for them on their behalf.
Right. Look, it's powerful. We only have 30 seconds until the break here, but then plus they can self-replicate. So then how much more productive can our society be if everybody could have 10, 20, 100 employees working for free or cheap?
Yeah, a lot more productive. And this kind of like my mind was blown about last year. One of my employees showed me he wasn't just having like an agent to do research for him. He's an analyst, right? So he does analyst on stocks. So he had an agent that was doing research. Then he had another agent that was like managing his portfolio, and then another agent that was a CEO that was basically
Right.
helping them communicate with each other and manage each other's tasks. And I was like, what is going on here?
Look, it's
So
unbelievable.
where
You are
this can go
blowing
is
everybody's mind. I gotta go commercial. We've got Kyle Reidhead here for 3 more segments on the Spotlight. Welcome back to the Spotlight. I'm here with Kyle Reidhead. Kyle, look, I appreciate you coming on the show, not just because you're brilliant, but you help me feel less alone. Sometimes I stay up at night thinking about all these things. Oh my gosh, AI agents, and they're going to do this in the economy and social media. But then it's like you confirm all the things that I'm like, oh no, these are real, and also you've been doing it for a really long time as a job, which I think is very cool. So then I think about social media, right? And I think about the creator economy, and then I think I don't even know the answer to this, but it seems to me, okay, we have all these robot employees. We've got this creator economy where basically if you make stuff, you can sell it on social media and blah, 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 blah. So let me ask you, the expert here, like, how will AI agents work with the creator economy?
So I think that is the key thing. They'll work with the creator and not necessarily replace the creator. Humans
Mm,
like to learn from other humans and hear from other humans and experience what other humans experience. So they don't necessarily want humans to go away. But what agentic economy will do is allow us to use agents to create more content, right?
mm,
So I create content on X, and I can get way more research done and get way more drafts of my content done through using agents. So I think it's going to expand our ability to create a lot more content, to put that content across platform. And I think that's ultimately a good thing. Now, one of the problems is it's going to create a lot of AI slop, which we already see. If you're on X, if you're on TikTok, you see a lot of this, or on LinkedIn. And I think that's a problem that we're going to have to figure out and solve. All the social media platforms are going to. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a good thing for the expression of creators. Same thing as the internet did for creators too.
The AI slop thing is interesting. Actually, it makes me want to like change the question a little bit because I want to talk about scale, but the AI slop conversation is interesting because in a way it's a derogatory term. In a way, I think it's accurate, but I think it's a bit imperfect, right? Because ultimately, content is content, right? There's humans creating, I would call it human slop, and I think that there's degrees of AI content that is really, really, really good, right? So how do we differentiate between those? And how do you think AI agents are going to just, I don't know, scale these differences?
I mean, we differentiate between this stuff already. Like you said, humans also make slop. And the way the
Yeah.
algorithms work is if it's good content and people like it and they engage with it, then more people see it. And
Right.
so the same thing I think is going to happen with AI content. Even today, you see AI content. Generally, it doesn't do so well in the early stages when AI would, you have agents on Twitter that are creating content. It actually did a lot better than humans just because people are like, whoa, is this thing really creating content on its own and doing its own research
Mm,
or analysis? But I think ultimately good content is going to make its way to the top, whether that's an
mm,
AI, whether that is a human, that's how
mm,
it's going to work. And so ultimately, I think humans that can use AI to create the best types of content, whether that's valuable content or super creative content or really
mm.
funny content, then it's going to be the content that I think most people will see and will make its way to the top. So it's all
Right.
about good content, regardless if it's a human or an AI.
Right. It's interesting too, right? So, okay, so let's say it's human-led content, or let's call it AI-assisted content, or it's pure agentic content. It doesn't really matter. Either way, it seems to me the commonality is that the creator economy is going to scale significantly either way, whether it's like a hybrid or it's AI or it's humans or whatever. It's like we're doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on the creator economy. Like, do you think that's accurate?
Absolutely. I think anything digital is going to scale right now because, we used to have whatever it is, 3, 4 billion people on the internet. And now we're going to have many, many, many billions of intelligent beings on the internet, right? Whether it's
Mm,
humans or artificial intelligence or agents. And so I think we're going to scale everything digitally because of agents. Um, so I think it's going to completely change the way that we think about using the internet. It's going to
mm,
change the way that we think about consuming on the internet. You're already starting to see agents that are videos, right? Whether it's a video replication of someone like me, like a human, or it's a net new thing that never existed before. It's not a replication of a human. It's literally just an AI agent that has its own, face and its own voice, and it's creating content too. And there's many of those that are already quite big on the internet. So there's musicians that are really big on the internet that are just strictly AIs. And so I think, yeah, absolutely, we're going to scale the creator economy into many more creators and a lot more content.
It's unbelievable. Look, we only have 30 seconds left, but how do you think that changes like the social media landscape?
So I think it's going to be a little tough kind of transition into it because
Mm,
we're just going to get oversaturated with so much content and so much new things. But ultimately, again, as I said, the algorithms are somewhat set up for this, which is again the most engaging content, the best content goes to the top. The problem is if the AIs get smart enough, which they're already on the route to, they're going to be able to create the best content better than humans, right? And
mm,
that's going to be a problem. So I think what we're going to need is some sort of authentication across social platforms where we can verify that that's a human content or that's an agent content. And I think
yeah.
that's going to be a really big thing that the platforms are going to have to figure out.
All right. You are brilliant. I have Kyle Reidhead here for two more segments on the spotlight. Welcome back to the spotlight. I'm here with Kyle Reidhead. Okay, Kyle. I mean, you're my favorite kind of guest because I feel like I could just ask you anything, throw an intellectual darts at you, and you'd be like the Matrix. You'll like avoid them or catch them or disintegrate them or whatever you want to do, right? Um, Look, you're a brilliant dude. So it's cool because I think a lot of people are very scared or even just like confused or uncertain about where we're headed. I don't know if this is true. Let's talk about the automated economy. I know Elon Musk has talked about this. This idea that like humans won't have to work, right? It seems to me a bit far fetched, but I wonder. It's like I do the math and I go, I think it's possible. Like, do you think it's actually realistic that we could automate the economy where essentially work will be optional, not required?
Yeah, look, I think we're a long ways away from that. So those that are listening, don't be too afraid. You're not going to lose your job today. I think if anything, what agents are doing, what AI is doing is giving more opportunity. We're creating more jobs right now. The economy is doing fantastic. So I wouldn't be afraid today. However, in 10, 20, 30, I don't know how long it's going to be, years from now, there's two things that are coming, which is the agents. Okay. So that's like digital artificial intelligence and then robotics, which is essentially
Mm,
just an agent, but in a physical device. And this could be a physical car. We already kind of have this with robotaxis. And then you're going to have humanoid robotics. And the agents are replacing a lot of the actions and things that we do online. And then the robots are replacing a lot of the labor that we do. And so you're
right,
having both white and blue collar being replaced. And so
right.
at some point, and we're a long ways away, yes, I do think we will get to a place where a lot of the economy is automated. But we'll see. Maybe that's going to create new jobs and new things, right? Like
Mm,
doing this, a podcast or
right.
a show online didn't exist, however many years ago, and it does today. And so maybe we'll create new things, maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. But I do think we're going to automate most of the economy. That's for sure.
Okay, let me push back on that in a positive way because it's funny, like the way you frame the question or your answer was a bit different from the way I see it, right? Because I actually think that it's a good thing, right? Like, I think if you could
Yeah.
replace all the humans with AI, people are like, "Oh no, what will we do?" But I'm like, "Well, hold on. If we have a mechanism where well, now the humans don't have to work. We can do all the things we need to do with AI or robotics or some combination. It seems like that could free up humans for leisure.
100%. That's already the way the world has been going. Like work used to be like 100 years ago, you had to go and dig ditches and like put in rails for railroads. Like work was real work back in the day. Now we get to hang out on a podcast and chat.
Right.
I love what I do. This isn't work to me. This is hanging out. I would do this regardless, right? I'm just learning
Yeah,
and sharing
same.
my knowledge.
Sure.
And I think we're just exactly. And so I think we're going to go more into that. We're going to replace the things that humans don't want to do, thankfully, which is a great thing. And it's going to allow the humans to do things that they would want to do, which is like be creative, create music, do like drawing, like I don't know,
Right, right,
hang
right.
with friends and family. I think it's going to be an amazing thing for the world with if this happens.
See, I see that too, but then obviously that leads to the conversation about UBI, right? So how would that work then? Like a universal basic income where, you know, people's, costs are provided for. I don't know, housing. I don't know how that would work, but what's the relationship between, essentially a financial cushion and this agentic economy?
Yeah, that's a tough thing to understand on how it's going to work. I think we will have some sort of UBI, and I think there's a few ways that this will actually make sense. One, First of all, the things that we think of as expenses today are going to be extremely cheap, if not free, in the future. So energy is eventually going to become very cheap once we make it all renewable and scalable, right? The ability to produce and manufacture things are going to get, and already are getting, cheaper and cheaper as technology improves. The same thing's going to happen, right? Over time. And so as we have robotics, if you think about robo taxis today, you can already see it with Tesla and Waymo. It's 10x cheaper to use a robo taxi than to use an Uber or a taxi cab.
Mm.
So our expenses are actually going to become a lot lower. So we're not going to need the, however much, $10,000 or whatever you need a month today. That's not going to exist in the future when everything gets automated. You're going to need a lot less, but you're going to get a lot more. So that's actually a really good thing that's going to happen to the world. In terms of where does UBI come from? It could come from the companies. We have very centralized, massive companies that are happening due to technology. And if they become more and more profitable, they're going to want to give back to their consumers and their users. So there's a chance that that works out. I mean, the government is already subsidizing a lot of things, especially here in Canada. We get healthcare free, we get many other things free. And so, we're already kind of on that road here in Canada. And so, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but I think at least our expenses are going to be a lot lower as things, get automated.
Look, these are not easy topics to to speak about confidently and intelligently, but you do it really well. Even for me, like I know quite a bit about some of this stuff, and you help clear up some of the I don't know, the ambiguity. So I appreciate that. We've got Kyle Reidhead here for one more segment on the spotlight. Welcome back to the spotlight. I'm here with Kyle Reidhead. Okay, Kyle, we really do need you for 1,000 more hours, but we have 5 minutes. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to cut this somewhat short. But what an incredible guest you are. You've really cleared up a lot for me, and also posited some interesting questions for me to think about in the future, and the audience too, I'm sure. So okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's realistic here, man. It's like we're talking about UBI and robots, and people don't have to work, and I mean it's crazy stuff, but it's also becoming more realistic. But how do you see, let's say, in the next 5 years? In the next 5 years, what's a realistic view on how AI agents will disrupt the economy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, I think we're already starting to see it. And I think the most important thing to understand is that humans that use AI agents become what I call superhumans. Okay.
Mm.
These are the people that are making more money year over year. They're getting raises. They can find jobs anywhere else. Whereas people who don't use that, I mean, for example, in our companies, we won't hire someone that doesn't use AI. It's kind of like, 20 years ago, it wasn't on someone's resume that they use the internet. But today, you would never hire someone that doesn't use the internet, right? You wouldn't even be able to have a conversation with them, right?
Right.
And so I think the way we're going right now is we're still trying to figure out how to use these and how to make them, ROI positive. And so I think, there's a massive adoption curve over the next year or two. We still haven't really seen the mainstream adoption of agents. We have of the chats, but it's the agents that I think we still need a big unlock from. So unless you're really in the weeds, you're probably not using agents today.
Mm.
But I do challenge everyone to be paying attention and trying to figure out how to use it, because it's not just in work, but it makes your personal life, anything you're doing, it can make it just so much better. You get to delegate to anyone you want for free. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And so I think it's going to make really efficient humans over the coming years, and ultimately really efficient companies, which means companies are going to have better earnings, and they're going to do better, and they're going to be able to hire more people. So I think we're just going to see an amazing economy over the coming years as we continue to adopt this new technology, which again is completely scalable. That's the beautiful thing of it, right? We can just use more and more of it. And so I think we're going to see an incredible few years here in our economy, probably for those that use it. And for those that don't, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but you're going to want to try and keep up for sure.
Well, and what you just said is quite interesting, right? Because there is a gap, right? Call it a knowledge gap, an intellectual gap, an adoption gap. I don't know what it is, but there's people who hate AI. They will never use it. They find out you use ChatGPT, they'll punch you in the face. Like people are intense, right? So I think you and I are very similar philosophically. We're both pro tech, we're both pro AI, but not everybody is. So to balance out this episode a little bit, what do you think about the risks of AI?
So there's centralization risks for the companies that run AI, right? Some of the companies now are becoming, many multi-trillion-dollar companies, and I think they own a lot of our data and control a lot of what's happening. They're bigger than governments these days, and I think that's obviously a scary thing if the people that are running those companies are not aligned with the rest of us. So I think that is a problem. There's also, we're going to learn and we're going to talk to AI all the time now. We're already starting to see it. Kids are going to do this, and so they're not always going to say the right things. They don't have emotions like we have emotions. And so they don't necessarily have that like empathetic, emotional view to manage humans properly. And so I think there are definitely concerns there. So humans need to understand how to use this stuff properly and interact with it properly. And then also don't forget to disconnect from it. I think what's also going to happen here, as much as everything's going to get automated, there's going to become a premium, and you're already sort of seeing it on real life events. Why do you think concerts and sporting events have become so expensive? It's because we all live on our computers and in our phones. And so finally, when we get to go see something in real life, we'll pay a premium on that. And I think that's only going to continue moving forward because I think humans need to use this stuff, like I said, but you also need to go and just live in the real world and be with humans too. I think that's also a really important thing for everyone to understand.
See, I can tell you're really good at your job because even when you talk about the risks, you're so positive about, like how to evaluate them and what can be done. And look, I think it's very genuine. I can tell, like talking to you for 20 minutes, right? I think that I think you really understand the tech, but at the same time, I think that you do have an empathy for people. I'm gonna have to wrap this. I think you need to come back because you're awesome, and you really like take high level concepts and make them very very easy for an audience to understand. And I really do appreciate you so much.
Thanks so much. Happy to come back. It'd be fun. This is great.
Nobody quite knows how AI will play out, but it's a safe bet the economy will be impacted significantly. Will that be positive or negative? We'll see you next time on the Spotlight.